Jarvis Butts, you are the monster in this whole picture. She did deserve love from her parents and everyone who was in her life. She was ignored, she was neglected, and you took complete advantage of that. She wanted someone to love her, and she will never know what that feels like. I pray for the healing of all the victims and the young girls and possibly boys who have come into contact with you. As a community, we should look at this case as a prime example of how much work we have to do when it comes to protecting our children and especially our Black girls. I pray for closure and healing for all those who have been traumatized by you.
Hello everyone, it's going to be Line back to you with another video. This video is an update to the Ziyah Harris story. Before I begin, I would like to extend my continued support and condolences to the family and community members affected by this case, as well as the families who are currently missing a loved one at this time. As previously reported, Ziyah Harris was last seen getting off the school bus at the corner of Cornwall and 3 Mile Drive in Detroit on January 9th, 2024, though her body was never recovered. It has been reported that Jarvis Butts, 42 of Detroit, is currently being charged with first-degree premeditated homicide, second-degree criminal SA conduct, and child SA activity. Text messages between the defendant and the 13-year-old minor, Ziyah Harris, confirmed that she was pregnant by Jarvis Butts in 2023. Though allegations were made on behalf for Ziyah Harris's safety to CPS since 2022. It should also be noted that Jarvis Butts has also been charged with SA of 2 other girls in separate cases, one of which includes his own children. Butts was convicted of SA in 2005. WXYZ Detroit did an in-depth investigation on the Ziyah Harris case, where they found the Detroit Police Department failed to investigate a 2022 claim that Ziyah Harris had been inappropriately being touched by Jarvis Butts, the defendant later accused of SA and unaliving her. The report would go on to say the alert to police was made more than 20 months before Ziyah Harris would go missing and came in the form of a law enforcement notification, or LEN, sent by Children's Protective Services. "We just didn't do enough with it," Assistant Chief Charles Fitzgerald stated in an interview, adding that the department has since implemented new policies that would ensure the same mistake doesn't happen again. Records show that CPS investigated an allegation against one of the girls who made no disclosures about any abuse, but not Ziyah Harris. What CPS officials did do, however, was share the alert that named Ziyah Harris with Detroit police in the form of an LEN. The alerts are common, with the department receiving about a dozen a day and more than 5,000 last year. They are sent when CPS learns of possible criminal behavior that a local jurisdiction may want to investigate. In this case, the complaint told Detroit Police Department that there was an incident at a birthday party where a child unnamed accuses Jarvis Butts of SA. The complaint went on to name two other children who may have been abused, saying Naziah Harris and named withheld reported that Jarvis Butts touched them inappropriately as well. It read, adding later, Jarvis is a sex offender and a felon. Naziah Harris's great aunt, Jernell, says she filed that complaint with CPS that was ultimately made its way to Detroit Police Department. They're the police. They're supposed to investigate, Jernell stated in an interview. Everything is there. But the department never did investigate, at least with respect to Naziah Harris. Instead, according to officials, only the other alleged victim named in the report was questioned because CPS only listed her under the victim header, even though Naziah Harris was identified as being improperly touched. Jarvis Butts, when questioned by officers, denied any wrongdoing. He has maintained his innocence since being charged. A retired Detroit police lieutenant, Tom Berry, stated, makes zero sense. Either DPD didn't read it or they didn't comprehend it. That's my opinion. Mr. Berry reviewed the LEN for 7 News Detroit, saying that it was clear the alert mentioned at least 2 possible victims by name and made reference to a third. Somebody dropped the ball. He would go on to state, it's pretty clear by reading that there's at least 2 allegations of SA there. Assistant Chief Fitzgerald makes no excuses for what happened and says that much has changed with how the department handles the LEN reports it received since Naziah Harris complaints came through. Today, regardless of who CPS identifies under the victim header, Fitzgerald stated Detroit Police Department interviews everyone identified as being abused. He pointed out that the original complaint lacked complete information such as Naziah Harris's last name or her address, but acknowledged that we could have found her rather quickly. Who this young lady was had the department investigated. It's a horrible excuse, Fitzgerald stated. We still should have done what we should have done. Relatives of Naziah Harris say they are distraught to learn that the department was warned as early as 2022 that Butts could have been abusing Naziah Harris. The fact that they acknowledge it shouldn't have worked this way, and it took something so tragic for something to happen to her, said Morton, a relative of Naziah Harris. While the department says it is more responsive to alerts like the one that named Naziah Harris in 2022, it could not say to what degree other complaints like hers were never investigated. I think the obvious question that a case like this begs is how many other victims or alleged victims in reports like this were named but never contacted by DPD. Channel 7 Ross Jones asked. Naziah Harris's family says they worry for other children whose complaints may have been disregarded by department officials. I don't think it stopped at one child sliding through the cracks. They clearly weren't doing their jobs. It wasn't as important. Martin said. How does that happen on their watch? Now we are moving forward to the current events that occurred on June 30th, 2025. According to reports, Jarvis Butts is now facing charges for another alleged SA of a young minor. Wayne County Prosecutor Kim Worthy charged Jarvis Butts with one count of first-degree criminal SA, person under 13, and third-degree criminal SA person 13 through 15. It is alleged that Jarvis Butts SA'd a 12-year-old minor in the spring of 2013 at a home in Allen Park. Prosecutors have also charged Butts in other cases. He's charged for an alleged SA of a now 20-year-old woman when she was 8 years old and 10 years old. Butts had been released from prison after serving nearly 10 years for SAing another child. The two cases are the latest in a string of cases against Jarvis Butts, who has been called a classic expert groomer and a PDF file by prosecutor Kim Worthy. Jarvis Butts has been charged with 5 counts of second-degree criminal SA and 1 count of first-degree criminal SA conduct for these assaults. As previously reported, Jarvis Butts served time in prison for SAing a child in 2004. During his June 30th court appearance, he was given a $500,000 bond. He is expected to appear in court for these new charges on July 7th, 2025. Trial in the homicide of Ziyah Harris is scheduled to begin on August 1st, 2025. These are my thoughts. It is clear that the system failed Ziyah Harris. From Child Protective Services to the Detroit Police Department. Everyone is now playing hot potato because they know it doesn't look good. There were persons literally advocating for Ziyah Harris and other victims because they realized Jarvis Butts is a monster, yes, a monster, and a PDF file who loves to groom children. The alleged victims and survivors went to adults informing them something is wrong, and the adults who were notified CPS, which then notified the Detroit Police Department, who ultimately missed this case. It is clear that Children Protective Services did not do any follow-up with the Detroit Police Department, because had they done their due diligence, they would have realized that this case is very important. I've said this before and I will say it again. When allegations are brought on behalf of our babies, when they need our help, nobody does anything until something tragic like this occurs. Why is it that our babies have to be the sacrificial lambs for persons to understand that SAing a child is a dangerous thing? When allegations are being brought that our children are being harmed, it is our duty as community members, as service members within the system, to do our due diligence. CPS failed this baby. The Detroit Police Department failed this baby. Her grandmother and auntie failed this baby. There are so many persons and entities that failed this baby. And I need the prosecutor's office to do a due diligence on CPS, because I know for a fact that Ziyah Harris is not the only victim that slipped through the crack. Jarvis Butts is a known PDF file. He had no business being around children. Even his own children, he had no business being around them. So the fact that countless persons were seeing that this was not normal and was literally ringing the alarm screams that persons do not believe black children until there is no body. This baby cannot be found because persons were not paying attention. It is time for us to have these honest and raw conversations within our communities. Jarvis Butts had no business being around these children, but yet he was given access to these children because we have desperate, yes, I said it, desperate women who would rather have a moment with a known PDF file than realizing it's not worth it. I'm valuable. My children are valuable. Why am I having this person around my children, let alone other people's children? We have a serious problem in protecting abusers within our communities. And it is time for us to have these hard conversations, because if we don't, we are going to continue seeing the same repetitive results time and time again. We cannot expect for other communities to respecting our babies if we are not doing our own due diligence. This is madness. Ziyah Harris and other victims were touched by this PDF file. I know for a fact that there is more victims. It's just that they are afraid to coming forward because there is a lot of shame and hurt when speaking your truth. Again, Jarvis Butts had no business being around these children, yet he was given access because we have desperate women who do not understand the difference between a man and a monster. They were continuously allowing a monster around these children. And now they're in them little feelings because the community is holding a mirror up to their faces in real time. We gotta get out of this mentality of it's not my child, it's not my business. If you cannot handle when allegations are being brought that a child is being abused, it is best that you inform your manager, hey, I cannot handle this case. Or better yet, do not do the job at all. Because it's obvious that persons were not paying attention. And this baby, who tragically had to have a baby, now both of their lives are now gone because, again, everybody was in them little feelings. We gotta wake up. We have to remove this mentality of protecting these monsters. They don't need protection. According to the Black and Missing Inc. organization, in 2023, an estimated 224,706 persons of color were reported missing. Of that group, 162,755 persons were under the age of 18. Yet, missing minority children are grossly underreported in the news. I've said this before, and I will say it again. We have to treat missing persons cases as if it is a criminal case, because every second, every minute, every hour, every day, every week, every month is critical to the return of said missing person. Everyone has a routine. Everyone has places to go and people to see. And if that person is not at their regular location, something must have occurred. And we cannot dismiss it, especially when that missing person is a minor. And it is up to us as the general public to be mindful of the disinformation, misinformation, aka lying, as it does affect the ongoing investigation. We must be mindful because it does impact the ongoing case. I will leave in the comments and description below for organizations and hotlines as it pertains to missing persons, in addition to organizations and hotlines as it pertains to child mistreatment and neglect. And as always, find our people, protect Black children, known and unknown. Say their names, say her name, Ziyah Harris. Justice for Ziyah Harris. And as always, please be safe out here. And I will see you in the next video.